This presentation was given as part of the Process Safety Management Mentoring Program. So, in all my years in working in industry, I have seen this over and over again. Companies just struggle with mechanical integrity. Now, of course, this is also known as asset integrity. Asset integrity is the term used by the CCPS in the risk-based process safety. So we'll tend to use that going forward. One of the reasons that companies struggle is that asset integrity has a very large scope and it can put a high demand on your resources. When OSHA went through and did their PSM National Emphasis Program audits, they found that for both refineries and for chemical sites, that approximately 20% of their findings related to mechanical integrity. And that was by far the highest percentage of any of the 14 elements. So, if you think about it, a process has a multitude of equipment, piping, instruments, even something as simple as a storage tank system. You can have a tank, maybe a couple of pumps, say 3 pipelines, at least 1 vent, probably 3 instrument loops, maybe some switches that are tied into interlock systems, maybe some electronic gauges, as well as your containment system. So that's just a simple storage tank. As the complexity and the number of the processes grow, the number of items just becomes exponentially large. And in that context, you can see how smaller items and auxiliary equipment could be overlooked. So we're going to use 3 incidents, as I mentioned earlier. These come from the airline, chemical, and refining industries to illustrate what happens when small, seemingly insignificant items get overlooked. The first one we're going to look at is from the airline industry. This was a Boeing 737 engine compressor bleed air 5th stage check valve failure. And there was actually an airworthiness directive that was issued in response to this. The following items come from the Chemical Safety Board reports. The first one will be the MGPI processing fill line dust cap lock ring failure. And the final one is an unidentified dead leg that led to a propane release and fire. So you see that these 3 are very different, even just looking at a brief description of what we're going to see. So let's start with the Boeing 737 engine bleed air 5th stage check valve. So in early 2020, this is about the time all the COVID lockdowns started, there were 4 incidents of certain Boeing 737 models with single engine shutdowns. These are planes that have, the dual engines, and one of the engines shut down. So this was alarming, and an investigation identified some following key factors. First, the planes were in long-term storage. For an airplane, being in storage 7 days or more counts as long-term storage. And when they looked at that specific 5th stage check valve, they identified that in every case it was corroded. That corrosion led to the valve sticking in an open position. The problem with that is that there was the pilots lost the ability to control the bleed air leads, and that to control the bleed air, which leads to the engine losing power and pilot can't restart it. So that led the Federal Aviation Administration to issue the Airworthiness Directive 2020-1651, which required the inspection and testing of the 5th stage check valves on all of the Boeing 737 Classic and 737 Next Generation dual engine aircraft. Prior to this, there had been no requirement to inspect and test these check valves. The next incident we're going to look at is the MGPI processing this dust cap split ring failure. So in 2016, there was an inadvertent mixing incident at the MGPI processing facility in Atchison, Kansas that the CSV investigated. The only physical barrier to prevent the loss of containment were these cam lever dust caps. And there's a picture there to the right of what those caps look like. And you'll notice the split rings that are held closed with the padlock. Now, the reason these caps were installed was not for a safety issue. Reason. They were installed for a quality reason because they didn't want contaminant getting into the raw materials. But in fact, it acted as a safeguard for a loss of containment, even though it wasn't realized as such. So when the CSV did their investigation, they found dust cap and they were called dust caps that were lying around and on some of the lines at MGPI. And as you can see from the picture, a split ring is missing. There's a lock, but it's only on one side, which of course doesn't prevent the cap from being removed. So these are not really safety devices. They weren't considered as such. And because they weren't considered safety devices, they were not regularly maintained or inspected or replaced. And the last incident we will review is the Valero McKee refinery incidents, and this is the unidentified dead legs. So this is a slightly older incident from 2007, but the situation was there was a liquid propane release from a cracked control station piping, which led to a massive fire and with injuries to 3 employees and a contractor. So it was a serious incident. Water had leaked by a block valve and collected in the dead leg. They had some unexpected cold temperature in the area of the Valero McKee refinery that led to that water that had leaked by the block valve freezing and forming ice. Well, when the ice formed, of course, it expands and it cracked the 10-inch elbow. When the ice melted, when the temperature rose above freezing, propane was released through that crack. And of course, it found an ignition source. So here's a illustration of the unidentified dead leg. So this dead leg was actually formed when this 6-inch control valve you see in the drawing was taken out of service. They closed an inlet gate valve on the left and a discharge gate valve on the right, as well as the bypass globe valve. However, even though Valero McKee had a dead leg program, this was not recognized as a dead leg. Because it was not recognized, it was not included in their freeze protection program. So in all these cases, there were items that failed that originally were not included in any kind of an asset integrity system or preventative maintenance program. Now, how do you identify items to put in your system? Well, of course, the OSHA Process Safety Management Standard lists the major items like pressure vessels, storage tanks, piping, your relief and vent systems and devices, your emergency shutdown systems, controls, pumps, and things like that. Now, piping systems can be especially difficult. Even the smallest site has lots and lots of piping and piping specialties included in that piping. Of course, RAGAGAP, or recognized and generally accepted good engineering practices, that provide additional information on these things. However, as those incidents we looked at showed, those smaller items are often missed because they're not considered safety critical or they're just simply overlooked. Well, the first way you can identify items to include in your asset integrity system are to look at the safeguards that you have identified in your hazards assessments. And these not only include your PHAs or process hazards analyses, but it also includes your layer of protection analyses, and they can even come from your job safety analyses. You want to also look at your incident and near miss reports. These may identify small items that failed or almost failed that should be in your AI system. And you also want to include equipment that supports your safe operations. And these things are like your fire suppression systems, definitely should be there. Inerting systems, if they're used to control the potential for ignition, especially in a flammable storage vessel. Ventilation systems, electrical distribution systems, and any other system that your site may have. Some systems that could be a refrigeration system. Now, these are a few of examples of small items that you may want to consider for your AI system. For pressure vessels and tanks, vent holes are usually included on your dip legs, and they should be unless there's a special reason not to. Those things can plug, so you want to include those in your PM plan for your vessel. Flame arresters, your nitrogen blankets that gets to your inerting systems, pressure regulators, and even sight glasses. For piping systems, just some examples of piping specialties that should and could be in part of your system are check valves, static mixers, injection points, dead legs, like we just looked at, heat tracing, flex joints, rotometers, and insulation. All those are things that could perhaps lead one day to an incident. Rotating equipment includes your seal pot level, seal pot pressure, things like your oil reservoir and the temperature of that oil. And of course, controls and interlocks. And sometimes the mechanical stops on control valves aren't considered part of that, but they should. Solenoids, position indicators, and switches are also things that can often be overlooked. Now, this seems like a huge list of items, but many of the things, especially those that we just discussed, can be supported by your operations team. First step is to define a list of specific items that the operations team can review. A lot of these can be taken care of during their walkthroughs. You want to develop procedures and documentation for these operations tasks, and you'll want to train them on the task. Especially, you want to make sure that you include in those training what to do if corrective action is needed. Sometimes it will take a work order to do a replacement or repair, but they need to be trained on that. And of course, all results should be documented and reviewed as part of your asset integrity system. There is difficulty in identifying piping components, especially small items and often overlooked auxiliary systems. We did review those 3 incidents from the airline, chemical processing, and refinery industries. We also took a look at some types of small items and piping specialties that may be included in your AI system. And finally, we looked at recommendations for managing safety critical items in an asset integrity system in the hope that these would be helpful. Remember, the devil is in the details.